Hey, I love that. That was my first time using that, Elise. Um,
I loved it.
I'm just saying the summer of surrender. So for those who are not familiar, I am Delilah Bartlett. This is Delilah's Downloads. And we're coming this summer to talk about things that people don't normally talk about. We'll spend a few weeks in the month of June talking about obedience, radical obedience, the cost of obedience, and normalizing that in order to get stuff and do what you've been called to do, it costs you something. And then the last half of the summer, we'll talk a little bit um, about suffering. But we're in obedience and radical obedience. And I got to tell y'all, when I thought about radical obedience, when Holy Spirit put it on my heart, He immediately put like four names behind the thought about radical obedience, who I could talk to about being radically obedient to God. And our first guest, Elise Edwards, was one of those names. Y'all, welcome Elise Edwards to the
Hey.
platform. Hey, Elise.
Hello.
I'm
How
so
are
happy
you?
to have you here. I'm just ecstatic.
It's me as well.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm-
And I'm trying to be better. I am trying to be better. I talked to somebody like it was like a 4 series video, and it was probably video 3 before I was like, you know what, you might want to tell people about yourself so they know what so they know why they're talking to you. And so I'm trying to be better about catching that at the beginning. So at
okay.
least if you can please do us the honor of just sharing a little bit about who you are.
Okay. So by day, I do work in corporate America. By night, I said that is where my superhero cape comes on. I am a um, faith-based faith-based community organizer, but I was also elected as the Police District Council in Chicago. It's the only place where we have this elected role for police accountability, public safety, and restorative justice practices for our youth. So that's me.
That's powerful. And I've known you for a few years, and definitely not your entire journey, but the few years that I have had the opportunity of knowing you and watching you, the passion, perseverance, commitment,
Yes.
intent that you have for your community, like it's unparalleled
Yeah.
to
Thank
anything I've seen. I just thank you. I
thank
thank you for your heart.
you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. And we're here but a brief time. These are some little nuggets, and there are a few questions, at least I really want to get into around obedience and kind of what that's looked like in your life, and what it's cost you in your life. But I do want to say a little bit about because I'm using radical obedience. I think sometimes we can think obedience and it's like, oh, follow the simple step, and yes,
Yeah.
follow the simple step. But to me, as I've been toiling radical, the term radical obedience around in my heart and in my mind, it's like those things that really cost you something. It may cost you a lot of time, it may cost you a lot of comfort, it may cost you a lot of like vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about a little bit about that. But I first want to just ask you, like, what does obedience mean to you?
Yeah. So when I thought about, obedience, the same as what you're saying there, if I just had to put it in my own words, it is really, for me in the situations I've been in, is having the courage to like do what is being asked of you or what's required of you. Um, and with that you're really trusting regardless of what you're seeing on the outside, some adverse behaviors, things that may not work out your way, but like inwardly you still trust God.
Yeah,
Externally there may be some things that may happen that may not look as if it's going to go in your favor, but you have to have the courage to trust God, and then you do it anyway. So that's what I'm looking at when I think about obedience. It's about trust.
I love that. I love that. So with that in mind, Elise, let's just jump into it. Can you tell us a little bit? I've seen some stuff just in the few years I've known you, but can you share with those who may not know, and maybe even I'm going to learn something this moment, a time when you stepped out into radical obedience?
Yeah.
Maybe
So I'm
situation
yeah,
or
I'm
or
going to use this one scenario that was, I mean, for me, It's very easy. It won't get me in trouble because some of the other things it involves other people.
Okay, so let's stay out of trouble.
I don't want to stay out of trouble tonight. I'm gonna stay out of trouble. But with this role as an elected, official, it is a brand new role, and it's not on the same level as an alderman or as a mayor. You know what I'm saying? State rep or anything like that. It's a new role, so lowest on the totem pole, I would say, for elected officials. And so when we were getting our signatures, you only needed about 200 signatures. So we all got about 200, maybe 5, if you want to be radical, right? Ooh, 5. And I had a dream one night, and the Lord was like, keep pounding the pavement. And I'm like, in single digit, degrees. That's what you want? So I was telling people I'm still getting signatures, and they were literally laughing at me. Look at Elise taking this. Look at her. She act like she want to be
looking foolish. You out there looking foolish.
Very foolish. Exactly. It looking foolish. But at the end of the day, that was actually the thing that caused me to be an elected official, was because of how many signatures I had. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think that bleeds into the next question. I'm trying to keep them separate, but so as a result of looking foolish, as a result of going the extra mile, as a result of being out in the cold, as a result of sowing more time and energy, you were able to secure a position that you may not have had should you not have been obedient.
100%. Because the process, what happens is, you're from Chicago, so you already know that, it's Chi-Town. So when we meaning anybody that's elected, the process, you can choose to challenge someone's signatures. If you have to go out there and 250 is what you need, if you only get 250 and then they challenge a few of your signatures, they can knock you off the ballot, right?
Wow.
That is a whole process. Now, some people choose to use that a little too much. Let me go ahead and say that. And some people choose not to use it. So where I had no idea that in my area, people were choosing to do that. So that's what happened to some of the other people who were on the ballot with me. We were running together, and it ended up just being me and a few other people. But we'll talk about that part later. But yeah.
Yeah, because some folks got challenged, and because they didn't have the extra cushion, they got knocked off the ballot.
Absolutely. Even though externally it looked as if, why would we challenge one another? Like that was the going conversation is, we're not going to challenge one another. It's new. We're all respecting one another in this, this little small sphere of like elected officials.
Sure.
But it was outside, interference, I would say, that really challenged some of the people's signatures and removed them off the ballot. So I obeyed God. I looked foolish. It ain't just about looking foolish, baby. I was uncomfortable. Single digit degrees.
Yeah.
Nose was freezing. My fingers were freezing. I'm trying to get signatures. Nose was running. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Out there but this don't even make sense. Like, why am I doing it? It don't even make sense.
It ain't even that deep. It's not that deep. Like, literally, we needed 200. I got that, God. You know that, right? I got the 200. So yeah. And even when I got to 500, like I literally got double the amount. Wow. But I ended up turning in like over 1,000.
Yeah. Oh
because
my God.
They said keep pounding the pavement, and that is what I did. So
anyway. You don't need to understand why. Just be obedient.
And I didn't know why at the time. See, none of those other factors was in the back of my mind. And matter of fact, I had people telling me, why are you doing that? The same people who got knocked off, right?
Right.
They didn't understand either that there was something ahead of you that God was preparing me for.
Wow.
I just had to be obedient. Now, had I said, listen, these snow boots ain't doing it. I'm not knocking on another door. Yeah. I'm not getting another signature. Then I too would have been on the sidelines saying, "Dang."
Yeah. and that and securing the getting on the ballot and then securing the position is like the more immediate win. Can you take us a little bit down line of what this obedience has afforded you? Like, what's the result? What's been the result of being obedient?
Yeah, so I could say, well, number one, the lesson. I don't know if I'm allowed to even say that, but that just came to me right now. The lesson, I can say what I want. Okay, well, That's number one. It's the lesson. It's the muscle that you gain from obeying God. It's another experience that you can point to and say, you know what, I saw God do it here. I know that God will do it again. But in all actuality, I never wanted to be an elected official. Like seriously, that's not
Wow.
something I desire to do. I didn't wake up one day and be like, I did. Ooh, I want to be a district counselor. It's like that wasn't my goal, wasn't my desire. But by me being in this space, now I can clearly just tell you, I understand politics more. I understand that seriously, it matters who's sitting in some of these seats. It makes a
Wow.
big difference. We say it, but then we don't actually, I don't think, experience it the same way that I'm
Have the
experiencing.
understanding like you have
Yeah.
now.
So I see what goes on behind the curtains, right? So I
Yeah.
know that everything that you see may not actually be true. People spin things the way that they want. So it's another level for me. This whole experience, I believe, is maturing me spiritually. It is a natural thing, but it's spiritually maturing me. I didn't have these experiences in my own natural life. So,
Mm,
aside from allowed to be on certain platforms with certain
true.
people, being allowed to be in certain rooms with certain people, that's also a benefit. But when I think about spiritually, my spiritual stamina is being, strengthened just because of this process. Yeah.
Hey, so okay, love it. I love the things that are happening for you. How has the obedience, the act of obedience, impacted others? I think about the community. I think about things that you're doing in the community through this position. Some of it is through this position, but
Yeah.
specifically through this position. How have others benefited from this act of obedience?
Well, so I can say just for the role itself, I'm pretty tenacious at,
Great
rolling out
word.
what I feel like God has called me to do, right? If he says do X, Y, and Z, I feel like it's God, I go for it, right? I do everything that I can aside from compromising my time with God. That's very important. So, other than that, all of this free time is poured into this area that I know that God has, called me to. But some of the things that I'm hearing from people, I've never been a shy person. I am not a shy person. I am more introverted. I'm not coming out my house. I'm not trying to have conversations with people. Like, right. I just, when I see you, it's like, hello. But then when I go home, that's it. You're not going to get no
Okay.
text messages, no phone calls. So what I have to be different in this role. Right. So it has taught me to go beyond myself. What I've
Mm,
heard from a lot of people is like, oh my goodness, I see you coming out of your shell. I'm like, shell? When was I ever in the shell?
I
But
understand.
anyway, there's a perception for them. They think I was. There was a
Sure.
perception about me just because I wasn't out there in the front. I really did. I took pride being in the back. And I think there's nothing wrong leading from behind, except for when God has called you to lead from up front, right? When he's calling you to actually lead, to, lead the way and have people, follow in your footsteps. So I just feel like with that, there are certain people who say, man, I've seen you do this. I don't even want to talk about how many of my ideas have been stolen. You're welcome, Chicago. Like I take it, but it's they're
You're welcome,
benefiting from that.
Chicago. Be
But
great.
I do believe there are certain people who have talked to me and said your boldness, especially on social media, I'm seeing you do this, man, this is blessing me. Wow, you're really going hard in the community. So I say I did not miss God, right? And no matter how hard it is, I know that
Yeah.
I'm in a perfect will. I know I'm doing what he has told me to do. So yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And the
you
community
know,
is being better because of it.
yeah. Yeah. I thank you for adding that. And I know based on what you just said, the community is being better directly through your vision, your hands, but the community is also being better through the other leaders that you're inspiring through what you're modeling. And I think that is so powerful because sometimes I, I firmly believe, not sometimes, I firmly believe we will never on this side of heaven really be able to account for the multiplying effect our lives have. And so as you're out, this act of obedience that brought you to into a space that is allowing you to then impact others, and then the multiplying of what's happening with these folks, and then what these folks are doing to then multiply and influence others, you'll never know. And so I think when I hear you say that, that the community is better, you'll never know how much the community is better
You're right.
because of your
You're right.
active
You're right.
obedience.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But you did mention like a little bit ago, like one of the things about being obedient is the muscle, is the strength that it builds
Yeah.
to be obedient. So just talk a little bit more about that, about how that step of obedience has shaped subsequent obedience.
Okay. So it's just like I always try to explain it to myself how I see it is being in first grade. First grade math is hard until you master it. And then you're promoted to second grade. And then second grade math is hard to a second grader. But they
Yeah,
can
like,
look back and
okay.
be like, oh, well, wait, I actually completed that in first grade. It is just new stuff. And it just keeps going on and on like that. I'm just being, graduating from one level to the next level. And every time I feel like I'm in this spot where I wished, to be honest, that I would respond to everything with just like, God is going to take care of it. It really doesn't matter. Right.
Oh my
There are
gosh.
some things that really do cause a pause in my heart. There's a question mark. I'm being transparent. Right.
That's
It's like,
real.
it is real. Like, it's one thing you can exercise your thighs, and that's hard. When you master that, that don't mean that you don't have to do no work on your arms. It's still going to hurt. You're familiar with the process, but the pain is still there. You know what I'm saying? The growth is still there. And so when
So good.
I am transitioned to another level, politics is another level of anything that you can think of that's hard. It is a whole nother level. Your interaction with people may be hard, but here people are vying for position and power, and to
Hmm.
their name to be great. Like when you're coming against that, anything in their mind goes. So I've got to be prepared for anything to happen, to have your name slandered, like lies told. People believe in the lies. People that know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I
Yeah.
just feel like it is a long term type, like, well, we gonna hope not too long, but anyway, it's not an instant thing like, okay, God did it for me this time, and next time, oh, I just know he's gonna do it for me. It's still
You'll
a
have to
sweat
push
and
through.
a pressing and a, yeah, yes, that is, it's still, I still have to endure, as the word says. I have to endure that hardness as a good soldier. I can't. So I am learning how to not be, so you have those down times where you may cry and say, oh Lord, you want to, I'm no longer in a woe is me.
Hmm.
Thank the Lord, I've been strengthened and promoted. Let's
Amen.
a to the man. But there are still times where I would take a pause, right? But it doesn't take me months anymore. It doesn't take me weeks anymore. So it may
Mm.
take a day or two. So that's the growth that I see. My new level of faith is, and I believe that my the last stage that you get to is me walking in faith to where something will happen and I won't even blink. I
Mm.
know God got this, right? I
Mhm.
know that he has it. So I'm
Mhm.
still strengthening myself with the word, but I'm just not taking any more downtime. The manipulation that used to happen in the realm of the spirit from the enemy towards me, that's gone. Right. In this era, who knows what fifth
Yeah.
grade math gonna look like?
Right, right, right. What trigonometry might bring on,
Yes,
but
yes,
at this level, the
yes,
foolishness has ceased. Hey,
yes.
I'm gonna reflect and share something, but as I do, I want you let you know I'm one of first of all, I'm just enjoying the conversation, and I do want you to prepare to leave, folks with a word of encouragement. This is all about, trying to normalize. Obedience can be painful and obedience can cost you something, but obedience to God is worth it. It's so
Amen.
worth it.
Amen.
And being proof points of it being worth it. You were saying something you said really resonated with me, and it was these different or varying levels of obedience. And how and how it still takes even at the next time, even though I have proof, I call them receipts. I have receipts
Yeah.
that God did it before. Oh, here's where I can pull out and say, oh, he did it here before, he did it here before.
Yeah.
That last crazy experience when I was obedient, oh, this is how that turned out. I have these
Yeah.
receipts. I can come up against something, it may have similar characteristics, but it's not the exact same thing, and I have to exercise that muscle to get through and exercise that obedience.
Yes.
And I wish it were not so. And I too endeavor to, that's the goal of faith, to say, okay, well, we're here, and I
Yep.
just do it. And I know people sometimes look at me and like, Delilah, you're always doing stuff. I don't know how you just do the things you do, but there are moments of pause, like, Lord, I don't know enough to do that. Or Lord,
Yeah.
if I say that out loud, like, how are people going to react? Or, I do have those moments of process, and then, I fight through, get on the other side, and the next thing you know, they're like, well, who is she to be having a program? Who is she
Yeah.
to be doing that? Well, God told me to do it, and so I'm out here doing it. Surely he equips those that he's called.
Yeah.
So I so resonate with you on the different levels. You still have to push through,
Yeah.
even though you have these receipts, and you know he'll do it, and he'll.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I want to just interject and say
yeah.
one
Go
thing before
for it.
you go on to your next question.
Go for it.
There was a man of God that I listened to. He talked about prayer, and he says, sometimes we can choose to be cowards, or we can choose to, just truly obey God and be resilient. And so the coward that he talked about is, there's something that God is trying to get to us in the realm of the spirit. It takes time. You can cut the line and operate in your flesh to get what you think would be your good results. But that is literally not the way really of the spirit. And you will reap whatever you sowed, which was your flesh. And so
Mhm.
immediately that instant gratification that you think is gratification will come back to bite you in a whole nother way. So it's like I'm sometimes there's this temptation to just like, let me just do it this way. Let me just tell this person what this other person has been doing to me and
Yeah,
reveal their, foulness of their character. And that'll put me back on top. But it's like, no, you have to walk through them, you know, slinging your name through the mud. You've got to walk through that. You've got to allow this perception about you to be out there and still smile. And that stuff is not easy. It does not get easy. Now, listen, I'm sure enough waiting on the other end of that.
oh my god,
100%.
oh my gosh, girl, because I know just this morning I was like, Lord, you are the Lord of the angel armies, like, can you please get these people, like, can you?
Yes. Help, Holy Ghost. Yes. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
100% with you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because my role is to be a kingdom citizen. My role is to always show up in kingdom character, right? When the world says duck, I dodge, right? I mean, yeah, I do the things that don't look common, because
Yeah.
we're called to a different standard. And it's not about ratting a person out and throwing them under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels different, right?
It
It's going
does.
through the fiery furnace and coming out not smelling like smoke, but it's going
Yes.
through the fiery furnace
Yes. Yes.
and being
100.
in the lion's den. Like, you can't just not put me in there. Is that like not an option? He's like, no.
I have plenty of ways that I feel like I can get there a lot faster and be more productive. But
Yes.
I had a personal trainer, and she was telling me to do all kind of stuff. I'm just like, I seriously was like, you are wasting my money. I kid you
True.
not. You are wasting my money. I want to get here because I want this to be, I had
Yeah.
goals. And she had me working on stuff that I was like, this is so
And you're working
irrelevant.
on a little bitty muscle.
Little itty bitty muscles that when I woke up in the morning, this big old body could not walk because
Yes.
of these itty bitty muscles that I did not even know I had.
That's
I didn't
good.
know they existed, had no
Yeah.
earthly idea that they needed to be exercised and built up. So it's like
Yeah.
God knows and sees beyond what we see and what we know.
Yeah.
It is important for us to trust Him. And in that process, just knowing He has our best, like He has our future in His hands. He says
Yes.
He knows the thoughts that He has towards us of good, not of evil, to give us that expected end. That expected end won't actually work. You won't get there without the muscles you didn't even know you had. You're
Yeah.
going to need them where
Yeah.
He's taking you. You didn't even know you had them.
That's a whole word.
Anyway,
That's a whole word. Okay, Elise, we're at 25 minutes. We said we're going to keep this brief.
okay.
I'm going to leave it with you. What would you, words of encouragement, wisdom to share with people who may be called to be obedient, who are called, not maybe, who are called to be obedient to God in places that feel like uncomfortable, in some places that may be cold, lonely, look foolish.
Yes.
What would you say to them to encourage them?
So, my encouragement to you is do not bow your knee to every lie of the enemy, any lie of the enemy. Um, Take my experience, and I'm not high on the totem pole. I'm not President Elise, right? I'm just Elise. And if God can take me through a process, and every time that I have obeyed him, I have actually seen the results. It looked foolish in the beginning, but when God got through, my confidence was strengthened. Actually, relationships were restored. Like, you can't beat doing it God's way. So don't ever, don't put too much stock in what you're going through right now. Know that the Lord has something in mind. And if you just trust him, you're going to get on the other end of that with all of your muscles intact, right? And all of the stamina that he needs, right? Yes.
Working them out. Elise, I know you do a lot in the community, and I know we didn't talk about this, but is there somewhere where people can connect with you, or are there groups that they should follow that you're a part of if they want to be active in Chicago or anywhere else?
Oh my goodness, groups.
Is there a way to connect with you? Do
Uh,
we want to just come
any
back?
of the social media platforms, I can say
Okay.
that. So LinkedIn, it's Elise Edwards. Facebook, Elise Edwards,
Okay.
and
Okay.
surprise, surprise, Instagram, Elise Edwards.
Elise, that way. Surprise!
I'm consistent across the board,
Or get
Elise.
your brand together. You better be consistent. You be consistent. Hey, Elise, thank you for coming, just sharing a few minutes with us and encouraging the people. I firmly believe this is another one of your multiplier moments, where we think we're casually having a conversation, but people will be blessed, inspired, and activated
Yes.
to be obedient to God.
Amen. Amen.
Y'all, Elise Edwards, thank you for hanging out. Until next time, everybody, let's just go ahead and get big. There is a little promo after this. I do have my 8-week Journey Woman program coming up in July, so you should check it out. But until then, thank you guys for joining. Thank you again, Elise.